of sovereign nations, noting that Mr. Trump's election, the country anticipates a stronger mutually beneficial relationship with the United States of America. In addition, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu extended his congratulations to the President-elect Trump, expressing his support for democracy. House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy has lamented the incessant power grid collapse in the country. Chairman of the committee, Honorable Victor Fam-Ogene, who expressed worry that when calls are made to heads of MDAs for appearance, it is very imperative that these heads of departments appear before the committee so that challenges currently faced by the country are addressed. Honorable Ogene noted that due to the death of Chief of Army Staff, the nation is in mourning mood, hence the need to hold an abridged hearing. Earlier in his remarks, the lawmaker said that the investigative hearing is aimed at ascertaining the amount of funds invested into the renewable energy sector. And still staying with the Green Chambers, House of Representatives Committee on Public Assets and Special Duties has directed Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to submit all relevant documents on public-private partnership programs and concession agreements since 2007. Beg your pardon. This directive was given during a public hearing on Biovaccines Nigeria Limited, a joint venture between the federal government and May and Baker, established in 2007, alongside with other ministry-led partnerships. The committee requested that the ministry submit these documents by 19th November and appear before them on 26th November for further review. Beg your pardon. Deputy Chairman of the committee, Honorable Dabo Arna, specifically called for documentation on advertisement, expression of interests, and achievements tied to these PPP agreements.
The equity contribution of federal government, one is 10 billion naira. We take it as part of the information and documents that will be submitted alongside with the pending documents. We want to know where that money is, the utilization of the funds, when the money is being released, where the money has been domiciled. Secondly, part of the agreement, government gave out a landed property in Lagos. We want to have comprehensive document of the agreement and document of the property, the landed property.
It's not still on. Morikuye also asked for supporting documents on the ministry's 10 billion naira equity distribution, details of the land lease to May and Baker in Lagos, and transfer of shares to the Ministry of Finance Incorporated. They emphasized the need for transparency regarding federal and partner share capital.
We requested for certain approval as it relates to the agreement between the National Blood Management System and this other company. Yes, we requested for that document. So we requested for the ICLC sign off on that JV, and then the FEC approval. We saw in your document here that you said the ICLC has signed off on it, issuing you with compliance certificates on that JV. However, the FEC approval for that transaction, which has since commenced since 2023, we don't have the FEC approval because in your documents here you said tentative approval that you have given. No. It's just for you to take notes, furnish us with the FEC approval for that.
Mr. Chairman.
The Health and Social Welfare Minister, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, in response, requested additional time to gather complete records, noting that many agreements were initiated years prior to the current administration. He assured the committee that he would personally review the document for thoroughness before submission and provide an update on any gaps in the information inherited.
For leases, concessions, and the specific achievements under the various concession agreements, the achievements so far, the request that has been made for us now in terms of sworn affidavit about the true nature of the documents were submitted, and particularly the comprehensive information that is requested for all PPPs, as well as the locations and the specifications, and the utilization of all assets, all agreements to each asset, as well as the income. Honorable Chairman and members of the committee, these are very detailed documents that are necessary to evaluate all the PPPs that the ministry has been engaging on over a long period of time. And the ministry has taken due steps to try to collect the documents that are available, but there are still, I believe, important gaps. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to plead with the committee in order to be very thorough in terms of completeness of what you have requested, that we be given more time to be able to come back to the committee with a fuller response that is vetted, because out of respect, and I appreciate the concession of the committee that has been extended to us, out of reciprocity and respect for this committee, I would like to personally vet all the documents before they are submitted to you, and where they are not in existence, to be able to come back to you. As you can understand, many of these agreements were entered into years before we came into office.
Meanwhile, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, says federal government has allocated 45 billion naira directly to states to bolster primary health care facilities. Speaking at the 2024 Joint Annual Health Review meeting in Abuja, Professor Pate explained that these funds would directly benefit local communities through enhanced resources and services at over 8,000 primary health care centers. In partnership with state governments and development allies, Professor Pate added that over 2,600 facilities are close to completion under revitalization efforts, with plans to upgrade an additional 2,000 centers. The minister highlighted workforce development, noting that over 40,000 frontline workers have been trained, aiming to expand the workforce to 120,000. He also reported progress in health outcomes, including a 16.7% reduction in under-5 mortality since 2018 and 40% drop in diarrhea diseases. Despite these advances, Professor Pate pointed to challenges in routine immunization, maternal mortality, and malnutrition, calling for continued intersectoral collaboration and increased investment at federal and state levels. Federal Capital Territory Administration Special Ministerial Task Team has demolished illegal settlements behind National Park and National Military Cemetery situated along Airport Road in Abuja. The settlement, known as Ruga, was cleared out with hundreds of shanties made from sacks, planks and scrap roofing sheets along the rail corridor as it was destroyed and set ablaze. Our FCT correspondent Naomi Olebe witnessed these and now reports.
The demolition is part of Operation Sweep, a task force charged with removing illegal structures and arresting beggars in the city. The operation targeted illegal settlements behind Airport Road. FCT Director of the Security Service Department, Mr. Adamu Gwari, noted after the exercise that the Ruga settlement consisted of shanties and unauthorized settlements.
But presently, this sector is at Ruga village, where we have a lot of shanties and illegal structures on people's plots of land. And it has been established over time that these shanties harbors criminal elements and all those unauthorized people going into activities that are abominable to the law of the land.
One of the displaced residents, Mr. Ibrahim Yusuf, stated that those affected have nowhere else to go, citing the high cost of housing in Abuja.
They've come here more than 20 times, and we are still here. We're appealing to the government. We're appealing to the government. We would want a resettlement. Whatever condition they can give us to resettle us, I think we are ready to accept those conditions. This is just our appeal.
Are you ready to vacate this?
Because we are not ready, we can be ready to vacate, but we are not ready to leave Abuja.
Okay.
And we will always want to find a place to put our heads. So it means demolition will continue.
Additionally, the task force continued its clampdown on street beggars across the capital, following directives from FCT Minister Barrister Nyesom Wike. The team emphasized that the apprehended beggars would be sent to the Social Development Secretariat, SDC, for rehabilitation and reassessment.
We have other activities that were with the tax team, because like I said, this is an Operation Sweep that have been involved in also clearance of beggar within the city center, which I believe will be interest to the residents of FCT. In fact, they've been applauding the FCT minister for carrying out this particular operation. We have over 368 beggars presently that we'll be able to remove from the street and taken to the Buhari Rehabilitation Center. And at that rehabilitation center, they are going to be profiled and asked the trade they want to indulge in. And based on that, the FCT administration is going to provide guidance and train them on such skills so that they can become more useful to themselves and the society and not just going around the city.
It will be recalled that the minister had previously set a deadline of October 27th for beggars to vacate the streets of Abuja. Naomi Olewibe, ADBN News.
Still keeping with the Federal Capital Territory, the police command has assured residents of its commitment to ensuring safety in the FCT and its environs, promising to curb all forms of criminal activities. This was said at a meeting while the Federal Capital Territory Commissioner of Police, CP Olatunji Disu, gave assurance as he paraded suspects, including car theft and armed robbery suspects, DSS impersonators, as well as one-chance operators, among others. Our ADBN security correspondent, Fumilola Adeyemi, has details.
A total of 23 suspects were arrested with 23 exhibits, including 13 vehicles recovered. CP Disu outlined the methods and strategies that led to the successful arrests.
The suspects were arrested while attempting to sell a stolen blue vehicle with registration number KTW21553 to one of the command's undercover operatives. They did not know they were selling the car to an undercover operative. During interrogation, they admitted operating in Gariki for the past year and a half, taking responsibility for numerous cartels within that metropolis.
Some of the suspects confessed their involvement in crimes they committed.
We just introduced ourselves as DSS personnel, so we now asked them to come down. Then came. We now asked them, "Are you Yahoo boys. The boys admit, yes, say okay, now they don't want to go to office, we should settle here. So we now settle with them. They offer us money, we collect money from them, then we ask them to go.
Which office were you able to do that?
No office.
How long have you been doing this, and how do you get their paraphernalia, the ID cards and all that?
There is no ID card.
We saw some Yahoo boys and decided to stop them.
Are you a police officer?
No.
What capacity?
Just we saw them doing it in Malabar, all those, even in Vigilante, stopping Yahoo boys, collecting their money. We are not a police officers. So
where did you get idea of such crime?
I'm just saying them doing it in Malabar, all those in Vigilante. That is the reason why we just found ourselves.
Me, I dey collect phone.
They collect phone?
Yeah, I know the whole gun.
So this gun,
who they use this gun?
Na one Baba today. Baba today na some money bring am for Port Harcourt. He don't run.
So what's that the guy just got there?
I don't know. Not yes, that today bring na police come arrest him. Me and my brother this one.
With this achievement, the FCT Commissioner of Police, CP Olatunji Disu, has assured members of the public of the command's commitment to defeat crime in all its forms in the nation's capital. From Lola Adeyemi, ADBN News.
When I move to Akwa Ibom State, where the governor, Pastor Mweno, has officially inaugurated the Ikpad Enenikot Uboikot Ntonkikara Road, located in the market in Ikpad Enin Ikodabasi local government area. During the event, Governor Mweno reaffirmed his commitment to advancing infrastructure development to enhance economic activities in the state. Let's now join our Akwa Ibom State House correspondent, Mary Onyimachi, for more of this report.
Accessible roads are crucial for national development, significantly lowering transportation costs, fostering economic growth, and facilitating the movement of goods and services. In his address, Governor Umoino emphasized his administration's focus on improving the quality of life for the people through various impactful and people-centered projects.
But we need to continue to develop our rural communities, not just in Benin, but all around the state. But because my wife comes from here, even the things we did not want to do before, we'll do now some more. So if the devil thought he has denied you of your rights, the devil made a mistake. The energy is stronger now to support Benin people.
The governor called on citizens to continue supporting his administration to deliver more life-touching projects.
We are thankful to God that has given us the grace to complete the projects of the last administration. That is why it's always good to vote for continuity. Because if you did not support continuity.
The chairman of Benin local government area, Honorable, embraced the governor's commitment to the development of rural communities in the state, noting that national progress begins at the grassroots level.
We have landmarks in this local government. We have the Akwa Ibom State University of Science and Technology in Ikorapaden in Benin. We also have the coconut refinery still on Benin soil. We want to thank you for this road that you have done and completed for us, which will add value to this local government.
Commissioner for Works and Fire Service, Professor Eno Ibanga, provided detail with 10.519 kilometer, 7.3 meter wide road project, assuring that the road is built to last for decades and will ensure easy connectivity.
In terms of specification, this road is 7.3 meters wide, and all the underground underlays have been made as best specification. And I can't allow a road in my village, nor in Ikorapaden, not to have this kind of specification. Yes, you are welcome to the best. This road, I can assure you that it's going to last not less than 20 years.
Several key stakeholders, while commending the governor for his achievement, expressed optimism that the state will continue to see good governance and more developmental projects as the governor's tenure progresses. Mary Chi, ADBN News.
Now, while Ikparenin residents rejoice, residents of Ikpa Itu Urete Road in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State have appealed to the state government to urgently intervene and provide a comprehensive solution to deteriorating condition of their road. The call for action was echoed by several residents when our team visited the area on Wednesday, following complaints from business owners and commuters who rely on the road daily. Our ADBN correspondent, David Isong, has full story.
This is the Ikpa Itu Doite Junction, a key route that connects students to the University of Uyo Town campus. The road's condition is worsened by a damaged crane which has been left parked in a section of the road, significantly narrowing the passage for commuters. Several residents spoke out about the road's poor state, expressing concern over its negative impact on their businesses and urging the government and relevant authorities to intervene.
During rainy season, most of the people say go proper.
I've been driving this road for so long time, but the problem that we have in this road is truck that spoil this road for us, and this road is not good. So we want government to work this road for us so that we can ride. And our passenger is complaining, even though we, as a rider, we are complaining. This road is spoiling our keke.
With the trek, they come this side because of bad road. If you stop keke, they say no, they know they go. On our road, no. It affects my business because they cannot cross and come and buy because of this poto.
All this keke have been falling inside this water. I've seen so many people fall down from the keke vehicle to the water. And sometimes some of them might get injured. So it's very, very risky.
In addition, a human rights organization led by Otoekong Franklin Song emphasized the critical role the road plays as a major access route to the Federal University and surrounding areas, making its swift reconstruction all the more urgent.
Those from Uroite, which is even the worst, have the same fate. And then the students' community too are suffering. Those who are doing business too are also having a very down toe of their business because the businesses are not moving. Motorists are also suffering. So we are also pleading that the government of Pastor Omoino should direct that immediately the Ministry of Works and that of the agency that maintains roads, which is Akurema, should come to immediately commence job.
The Uyo Village Road, which serves as a vital link between Uyo and Cross River State, is also in a poor condition. Echoing his appeal, Otoekong Franklin Song, while acknowledging the government's directive to rehabilitate the route, called for a faster and more thorough execution of the project.
Those coming from that axis cannot actually come through. Ikpa Road is cut off, Roite is cut off, Itu Road is cut off. Now this road now is also cut off. So those from Itu axis are completely cut off from the state. So we plead that the government should monitor that those that they gave the contract should speed it up and complete this so as to enable us pass through to have access to the state.
Both Ikpa, Itu, Udoite Road and Uyo Village Road are essential commercial routes that contribute significantly to Akwa Ibom's economy, underscoring the urgent need for a complete overhaul. David Isong, ADBN News.
You're watching ADBN News at 7. We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us.
In a world of overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to the world where innovation meets opportunity, where ideas become empires. This is Market TV.
I am Idorian Flannan, and every week I'll be taking you inside the dynamic world of marketing and commercial business.
From groundbreaking startups to big businesses, Market TV brings you the best pricing and latest goods on display.
It's all about understanding your audience and staying ahead of the trends.
Witness the creative processes that drive the various brands.
Join us as we dive deep into the strategies that shape the commercial landscape. From streets to traditional advertising and social media, we cover it all.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or an aspiring entrepreneur, Market TV provides the insights you need to thrive.
This show gave us the tool to turn our vision into reality.
So, if you're ready to master the market, tune into Market TV every Saturday at 6 p.m.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
In this kind of situation now, what if they really no talk to una? Wetin be the way forward?
They go bury our chairman on Thursday. We go remain here.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we no dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager, the bank executive, they are the one the government should first face.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
You're welcome back. Secretary of State government has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring safety of road users across the state. This plea was made by Malam Aminu Abdullahi, State Commissioner for Higher Education, during a road safety sensitization program organized by the Ministry for Tertiary Institution Students. ADBN Northwest correspondent Lawal Aliyu completes this report.
According to the Sokoto State Commissioner of Higher Education, Aminu Abdullahi Ian Sokoto, protecting the lives and properties of Sokoto State residents is a top priority for Governor Ahmed Aliyu.
I will implore anyone to be active, You are free to ask questions, make your comments, observations, particularly questions on issues that relate to road usage.
Abdullahi added that the initiative aligns with the state's efforts to create a secure environment for its citizens. Dr. Aliyu Saadu, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Sokoto State University, welcomed the workshop idea, acknowledging its significance in promoting road safety awareness among students.
Organizing this workshop, particularly during this time of year, is very, very important. I used to go a road safety, they used to focus on months, every months, if I stand to be corrected, sir, November, December, September, whatever, because of the levels of journeys traveling across the country, a lot of traffic accidents.
The sector commandants of the Federal Road Safety Corps in Sokoto, A.M. Hassan, emphasized the importance of targeting students with road safety education, urging participants to heed to safety tips shared during the program.
This program will go a long way if you actually listen to what is going to be discussed this morning and take it home and even share it with people at all your neighbors and students who are there. It will go a long way to assist us in reducing unnecessary crashes on our roads. We have observed that most of the crashes that happen on the road involve students, either they are going to school or coming back from school.
The The sector commandant said the proactive approach demonstrates the state government dedication to reducing accidents and promoting a culture of safety among its residents. And engaging with students, Sokoto State is investing in the future of its road users. From Sokoto, Lawal Aliyu, ADBN News.
Now moving away from Sokoto, Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit on its second day witnessed strong calls for collaboration and confidence in Nigeria's economy. Chairman, CEO, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, highlighted positive impact of the summit, noting that last year's pitches led to successful investments. She emphasized that the summit is not only about attracting investors, but also about fostering a united effort to build Nigeria's economy.
What is also different about this are the pitching sessions. A lot of them are pitching, and we have people who from last year pitched and got investors. So, and also it's about having confidence in our economy. So if others are investing in Nigeria, why not the Nigerian diaspora? And you can see they came from all over the world to be here. And the stories are very inspiring. Those that have started the small businesses, those that are exporting. So it's been quite a 3-day event here. And what we will be doing subsequently as it grows bigger is to ensure more investors in the room, maybe the institutions.
Honorable Dabiri-Erewa, while acknowledging challenges to investment in the country, assured that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is committed to addressing these issues. She therefore urged citizens to contribute to the nation's growth wherever they are.
So we know that some things need to be better. The bureaucracy needs to be cut down. Even some of those who wanted to come, it was difficult even getting their visas. But we told them, you know, now we can do visa on arrival. So there are some bureaucratic bottlenecks. And then we know that infrastructure has to get better, constant electricity supply. But government is a continuum. The administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is doing everything to make sure that all these things are in place. It may take a while, but it's happening. So, but again, if you look at all the problems, then you won't do anything. So how come the others are coming? You know, so if you wait for everything to be El Dorado before, say, you want to invest in a country where we have 200 million people, we have the market, and those that are doing it are making it. So yes, government must play its own role, but let us also play our roles wherever we find ourselves.
Now, speaking on the importance of sustainability of the summit, Mr. Toluwalashe Musuro, an exhibitor, spoke about the need for organizations to adopt best practices from around the world to ensure long-term success of investments in Nigeria.
A very key thing that is happening globally now is sustainability. Organizations want to ensure best practices with ESG, environment, social and governance. They want to ensure that they do green projects that would save the ecosystem. We want to empower women. We want to ensure that we make impact in the lives of the people, that especially our communities and all of that.
The summit continues to serve as a platform for building relationships and attracting crucial investments to the country. And now to the foreign scene. United States President-elect Donald Trump has been re-elected as U.S. President, completing a remarkable comeback 4 years after he was voted out of the White House. His return marks the beginning of a new American leadership, one that is expected to test democratic institutions at home and challenge relations abroad. Africans have questions as to what the future holds with regards to United States relations. In this report, our diplomatic correspondent, Amma Marcus, analyzes some of those issues.
Donald Trump, now 78, made a victorious return to the White House after a campaign filled with divisive rhetoric that intensified the political polarization in the United States. His victory came despite 2 assassination attempts and after a dramatic shift in the Democratic race, where Vice President Kamala Harris entered the contest following President Biden's surprise withdrawal in July. On the future of U.S.-Africa relations under Trump's new administration, Voice of America correspondent in Washington, D.C., Oriane Itangishaka, provides insights.
We have seen an urgency, a sense of urgency to have to hold on to Africa because of the influence of China and Russia, obviously. And under President Biden, we saw that in the past several years, he has tried to push the Lobito Corridor project, which was to strengthen trade between Angola, Zambia, and Congo. And this was going to strengthen the relationship between that region of Africa and the United States. And under Biden, we also saw, however, a sort of anti-West sentiments towards, his presidency. We saw Niger ask the United States to close and to shut down its drone base in that country. And that was a big loss for the United States. We saw also other countries, hostility towards the West, so Burkina Faso, as well as Mali, and a lot of the Francophone countries in the Sahel. And so that pushed the United States to have to do a lot of convincing Africa that they were going to do more to keep that relationships. Now, under the Trump administration 4 years ago, we saw Trump's administration challenging Africa to basically choose the United States over Russia and China for their commercial trade, security, and political partnership with the continent. However, we know that the AGOA initiative, which is the African Growth Opportunity Act, is up for renewal in 2025. And this specific initiative between Africa and the United States is a long-term commitment and a bipartisan support that the United States has with Africa. We're yet to see what's going to happen in 2025, whether the United States will keep that initiative going forward with a new administration under Donald Trump.
As the political landscape shifts, all eyes will now be on the new leadership as it navigates its relation with Africa and the rest of the world. Alma Marcus, reporting for ADBN News.
Meanwhile, United States Vice President Kamala Harris has officially conceded the presidential election to Donald Trump, calling him to acknowledge his victory hours after the final results confirmed her loss. Vice President Harris used the conversation to emphasize the importance of peaceful transfer of power and urged President-elect Trump to serve as a president for all Americans, even as she offered congratulations.
While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. The light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Vice President Harris is also expected to make a public concession speech at Howard University later today. In a related development, the White House confirmed that President Joe Biden has reached out to both Vice President Harris and President-elect Trump. President Biden has extended an invitation to President-elect Trump to meet, emphasizing the importance of working to bring the country together amid transition. And now to sports news. Nigeria's under-18 men's handball team have been crowned champions of the IHF Trophy Africa Men's Continental Phase following a 38-26 victory over Guinea in the final on Wednesday in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The match, attended by top officials from Ethiopia's central government and Nigerian embassy, saw coach Emeka Nnamani's side start with determination to secure 21-14 first-half lead. In the second half, Nigeria showed their full potential, playing with flair and confidence. Key player Aziz Suleiman led the charge, scoring crucial goals to ensure the team retained the title they won 2 years ago. With the win, Nigeria is qualified for the IHF Trophy Intercontinental phase, which will take place early next year in a location yet to be determined. Super Eagles forward Ademola Lookman continued his impressive form this season, scoring to help Atalanta secure 2-0 victory over Stuttgart in the Champions League. The hosts missed 2 clear-cut opportunities in the first half, and they were made to pay when Lookman gave Atalanta the lead earlier in the second period. Lookman, who netted a hat-trick in last season's Europa League final, has now scored 8 goals in 12 appearances across all competitions this season. Atalanta, who have yet to concede a goal in European competition this term, moved up to 9th place in the table with 8 points after 4 games, while Stuttgart dropped to 25th with just 4 points. Now still bringing you matches update from the Champions League. Hakan Çalhanoğlu's penalty on the stroke of half-time proved to be the match winner as Inter Milan defeated Arsenal 1-0 in the Champions League at San Siro. The Turkish international calmly converted from the spot after Mikel Merino was adjudged to have handled the ball inside the area during stoppage time in the opening period. Arsenal, under Mikel Arteta, struggled to create clear-cut chances against the disciplined Inter defense, a recurring issue in their recent performances. The result marks Arsenal's first defeat in Europe's Premier competition this season, leaving them on 7 points. And now that's it on ADBN TV News. Remember to watch us live on DSTV channel 258 and StarTimes 2 channels 140, Avo TV app, Limex World TV app, and Niger TV app. For more stories, you can visit our website on www.adbntv.com. You can also watch us live from across the world by logging on to www.adbntv.com/live. I am Peace Ogenegbawe, and is back to Chijioke Okafo for the continuation of Morning Express. Good morning.
Well, thank you so much, Peace, for those timely updates from the news desk. In a very shocking yet historic event, former President Donald Trump has returned to the White House as the 47th President of the United States, winning more than 270 electoral votes in the U.S. Now, this is one of the many stories making rounds in the news across newspaper publications, locally and internationally. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll delve into newspaper review segment, where we'll also have our in-house analyst come on the program to discuss some of these trending topics. So do well to stick around. When we come back, Morning Express continues.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, be part of the change.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
If you are not a judge, you are not a judge.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we not dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager, the bank executive, they are the one the government should first face.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
Step into the heartbeat of the world where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
In a world of overwhelming voices where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
Welcome to the world where innovation meets opportunity, where ideas become empires. This is Market TV.
I am Idorian Flannan, and every week I'll be taking you inside the dynamic world of marketing and commercial business.
From groundbreaking startups to big businesses, Market TV brings you the best pricing and latest goods on display.
It's all about understanding your audience and staying ahead of the trends.
Witness the creative processes that drive the various brands.
Join us as we dive deep into the strategies that shape the commercial landscape. From streets to traditional advertising and social media, we cover it all.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or an aspiring entrepreneur, Market TV provides the insights you need to thrive.
This show gave us the tool to turn our vision into reality.
So, if you're ready to master the market, tune into Market TV every Saturday at 6 p.m.
Well, welcome back to Morning Express. Now, to set the tone for our discussions on the program this morning, we'll be taking a look at newspaper headlines across major publications in the country. Now, do well to know that these stories are strictly read out as published by the newspaper houses and not necessarily the position or stand of ADBN television on some of these trending issues. And you're also welcome to lend in your thoughts, opinions, and comments on any topic of interest. But do well to also note that you have to keep your comments as respectful as possible and refrain from using any inciting or inflammatory statements when you do lend your thoughts. Now, that being said, let's pick up the first couple of papers on our lineup this morning. The first newspaper, the Daily Trust, as well as the Punch, all have stories surrounding insecurity in the country, where the Nigeria police has sounded an alarm over a new terror group expanding its grip on local government areas in the northwestern part of the country. Let's pick up the first paper on the lineup, the First newspaper, as it greets your screen now. Now, on the First newspaper, we start off with the headline story. Danger looms in Sokoto. Police sound alarm as new terror group expands grip on local government areas. Above that, we won't force Kemi Badenoch to embrace Nigerian identity, says Abike Dabiri-Erewa. While bandits abduct over 100, including Chief Imam in Zamfara attacks. Federal government, Chinese firm sign MOU on local HIV test kit production. while First Lady pays condolence visit to family of late Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. Above that, Trump stuns the world with comeback history over Kamala Harris. Now, in relation to the story of the late Chief of Army Staff, you'd find here a picture of the acting Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, saluting the portrait of the late Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who was Nigeria's 23rd Chief of Army Staff during a condolence visit to his family at the Flagstaff House, Niger Barracks in Abuja. Now, this was on November 6th, 2024. General Oluyede was accompanied by senior army officers to honor the late Chief of Army Staff who passed away on November 5th, 2024 after a brief illness in Lagos. On the rider, Atiku urges Trump to ensure free elections in Nigeria in congratulatory message. While Nigeria moves to insure aircraft, boost aviation business. And finally, Nigeria faces new meter price crisis as costs jump 28%. And these are the stories you can find on the front page of the First News newspaper. In keeping with more reports surrounding insecurity in the nation, let's pick up the Daily Trust newspaper and have a look at a different dimension into some of these stories. Now, on the Daily Trust newspaper, we start off, bandits abduct over 50 people in Zamfara. Quite a very disheartening story there, with strap lines following. Place 150 million naira levy on residents. Now, I'll take that again. Bandits abduct over 50 people in Zamfara. Place 150 million naira levy on residents. Kill 10 farmers in Niger. We are working hard to tackle problem, I believe the security forces or agencies have revealed. Above the headline story and inserted beneath the masthead, you'd find 3 stories of interest. Tinubu, world leaders congratulate Trump on election victory. 22 miners feared dead as pit collapses in Adamawa, while presidents should unite, not divide Nigeria, says governor of Bauchi State over the president's tax reform. And of course, you'd also find a story surrounding the late Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja's death, where top generals are set for redeployment as Tinubu, Akpabio, governors mourn. FEC meeting postponed indefinitely. National flag to fly at half-mast for 7 days. On the rider, Kano begins registration of foreigners as discos hike prices of meters. Now, following the aftermath of the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, but no minors are still in custody, says defense lawyer. Let's quickly move away from the Daily Trust newspaper and pick up the Punch. On the front page of the Punch, greeting your screen in just a few seconds, you'd find, well, the Punch here says, we were served, locked up with criminals. Minors arrested during the hashtag End Bad Governance protest have revealed. The strap line here reads, police deny maltreatment as released protesters narrate 3-month ordeal behind bars. On the header, Tinubu, governors, CDS orders mourn Lagbaja. Banks free to trade with deposited FX, says the Apex Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Marketers sued Dangote, insist on petrol import. Now, feature stories inserted beneath the headline story here say that consumers are protesting as discos hike meter price by 28%. Lagos sanctions Julius Berger over engineer's death on site. And Lagos Calabar Highway, property owners reject 18 billion naira compensation. Picture of prominence here on the front page of the Punch newspaper is that of world leaders, well, that of the newly elected U.S. President Donald Trump, who is the 47th President of the United States, with a caption following that saying, world leaders salute Trump as president-elect vows to end illegal immigration. Now, Tinubu eyes cordial U.S.-Africa relations. Harris concedes race. Diplomats list expectations. These are the stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Well, moving away from stories surrounding insecurity, especially in the northwestern part of the country, let's take a look at quite a very sad situation where the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has passed away at the age of 56 in Lagos. Now, encomiums and condolences have been pouring in from dignitaries from around the country. Now, this story is captured in just one newspaper as a headline story, which is the Blueprint newspaper, greeting your screen in just a moment. Now, on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, we start off 16 months after appointment, Chief of Army Staff Lagbaja dies at 56. Tinubu orders flags at half-mast. Buhari, Akpabio, Abbas, Moro, CDS, others mourn. Nigeria has lost a gallant officer. NGF as well as NSGF have all said. This is followed by a picture of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja. Above that, I will bring America to a golden age, Trump vows amid Middle East turmoil. Tinubu, world leaders congratulate President-elect on his victory. Now, while above the masthead, you'd find a story saying that confusion as NSCDC officer dies after receiving old salary alert in the whole new minimum wage situation. And beneath the masthead, Governor Sani Uba of Kaduna State has given 100,000 naira each to released minors, promising them jobs and skills. While Dangote is a pillar of strength for Nigeria's industrial growth, says the LCCI. And in sports, Ekon, Lookman, Osimhen, 20 others gear up for Benin-Rwanda clash in the AFCON 2025. Wike pledges turnaround for Abuja culture and tourism. And on the rider, you'd find 3 stories, interestingly. NEDF backs Tinubu, says North will gain from President's tax reforms. First Bank hosts 6th FinTech Summit. As one of the best in IT quality service and delivery assured, Zenith Bank has mentioned. Now, these are the stories here on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. As we look to establish more stories making rounds in the news, let's pick up the next paper on the lineup, where the Minister of Power has attributed great collapses in the country to vandalism as well as lack of maintenance in the power grids. Let's pick up the paper, the Daily Times newspaper, as we take a look at the headline story and other stories in the news. On the Daily Times newspaper, we start off with the headline story, the caption reading, Minister attributes grid collapses to vandalism, lack of maintenance, says federal government is taking the issue very seriously. While above that, NBC decries loss of lives to Akwa Ibom dispute. Nigeria needs $10 billion annually to achieve SDG 2030, says the United Nations, while court bars CBN others from withholding Kano local government funds. Tinubu congratulates U.S. President-elect Trump in his historic victory and comeback to the White House after his defeat in the last elections in 2020. And of course, picture of prominence here is that of the Acting Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, paying a condolence visit to Mrs. Maria Lagbaja and other family members of the late Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja, Nigeria's 23rd Chief of Army Staff, who passed away on Tuesday after a brief illness on Wednesday. Now, on issues of food insecurity, the federal government has said that national policy on mechanization will promote agricultural economy. And lastly, a splash story in red on the rider, NCDMB unveils $100 million composite pipes valve plant to boost capacity. Let's move away from that and pick up the next paper on our lineup, the Nigeria Tribune newspaper, where local oil marketers are suing Dangote Refinery to court, insisting on importing fuel. Now, that paper, the Nigeria Tribune, captures this more elaboratively, as well as other stories in the news. Oil marketers tackled Dangote in court, say no to planned monopoly in energy sector. This is captured as the headline story on the Nigeria Tribune and continued on news page 16 of the paper. On the header, nothing in tax bills threatens your existence. FIRS chairman assures Naseni, NITDA and TED Fund. While Governor Makinde of Oyo State is set to pay Oyo workers 80,000 naira, consolidates NBS rating. Tinubu directs flags to fly at half-mast as Lagbaja dies at 56. Straplines say he has cancelled FEC meeting. Kinsmen suspend community activities. As Buhari, governors, National Assembly leadership, others mourn. Now here you'd find a picture of the wife of the National Security Advisor, Mrs. Bilkisu Rubadu, as well as the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, widow of the late Chief of Army Staff, Mrs. Maria Abiodun Lagbaja, and wife of the Vice President, Hajia Nana Shetima, and the wife of the Chief of Defense Staff, Mrs. Ogogo Musa, during a condolence visit by the First Lady to the home of the late Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja on Wednesday. Other feature stories inserted to the bottom left of the Nigeria Tribune. NYSC members call for implementation of 77,000 naira allowance. Obasanjo, Jonathan, others laud Obasanjo's achievements. Court bars CBN and others from withholding Kano local government funds. And writer here says, Tinubu, world leaders congratulate Trump as he emerges 47th U.S. president. Now, also a continuation of that story explaining why Americans dumped Harris. Now, reps move to compel president to give account of stewardship before laying budget. And lastly, expert expresses concern on rise in head and neck cancers related to HPV. Well, there are still more stories in the news, but at this point, let's join our in-house analyst, who is joining in from Makurdi, Right Honorable Daniel Atai, who is a public affairs analyst, a patriotic Nigerian who loves to lend his thoughts to issues of national interest. Hello and a very good morning to you, Honorable. It's wonderful to have you join us on Morning Express.
Good morning, ADBN.
Thank you so much. Well, let's quickly start off with the first story in the news, which is the situation in Sokoto State, where reports say that a new terror group is springing up. Now, this is on the backdrop of an already heated northwestern part of the country where banditry and kidnapping is the order of the day. How would you react to this very troubling situation at a very critical time like this in our nation?
Please, I think I had a network issue. Could you rephrase the question again, please?
Well, I was talking about the recent police report or a police alarm where it says that a new terror group has emerged in Sokoto at a time when banditry and kidnapping is the order of the day in the northwestern part of the country. How would you react to this very, very troubling situation springing up at this time?
You see, let me borrow one of the Donald Trump, the newly elected 47th President of the United States, said about Africa and Nigeria in particularly. You see that the issue of terrorism, especially coming from the Islamic sects, because they always have a tag name, and that tag name that they have, it is a religious ideology. A religious ideology. But again, when you come to sit down properly and found out that Islam is peace, you will now begin to understand those who are manipulating people who has no intellectual capacity about what religion is, and who are uneducated, and who are also not empowered beyond the fact that they are just street almajiris. So when you have a nation where larger chunk of their youth are only taught to be religious, to go to mosque and pray, or to go to church and pray alone, and not to be educated, not to be empowered, and they are in their millions. Larger population of these guys are in their millions. So what you will have a region characterized by this kind of mispresentation of ideology. And that is why you have terrorism and banditry. I have taken time to search the Quran myself. I even bought a Quran to study. I listened to a renowned preacher from the UK, Islamic scholar, and I have never heard him say, and he has emphatically also said, that Islam is peace and it has nothing to do with terrorism. But alas, when you come to see the affiliations of some of these guys with Iran, what do you call that arm of Islam? Is it the Shia or the Shiite? I think the Shiite Muslim. You discover that they have categories of ideologies, that the concepts that they believe. And this concept, only God knows where they took it from. Some will say it is from their hadith, and some will say it is something that they were taught in Arabic schools. But the scholar have argued on several occasions that it is a lie, it is falsehood, that Allah said that you must love your neighbor as yourself. Well, in the case of Nigeria, just like our normal education and our religious practices, we are only very religious, but very, very ungodly. And it is this ungodliness that has fettered into criminal activities like banditry, like Boko Haram, like kidnapping, and even corruption. Take, for instance, our big men who are Muslims, who are Christians, they pray 5 days, 5 times in a day, go to church, fast, do all those things, but when they come to political positions, what do you get from their ministries, from their departments, from their agencies? All you have, you see people who are struggling to steal money. And so you begin to question their integrity. You begin to question their patriotism. You begin to question the knowledge of the God they claim they are worshiping, or the God they claim they are serving. So if your God become a criminal God that you have to worship, you go to church from every Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, and simple patriotism in a position of power or in a position of governance or administration, you steal, you embezzle, you misappropriate. The same thing is what is happening with the new sect of terrorists that came out. When you investigate very well, are you hearing me?
Well, certainly, I'm with you, Right Honorable. I'm still here. I'm listening.
Yeah. When you investigate very well, you will come to understand that those behind this acts of the new sect are even people saddled with the responsibility of protecting lives and properties.
Now, Right Honorable, I just want to chip in here that with reports from the police, it says that the new sect call themselves the Lakurawas. Now, if you remember how Boko Haram started in 2009 in Borno State, it started almost the same way, where a sect came about with a new name, and it was almost as if they were harmless. something that seemed like the police could contain it within that particular local government area that it was happening, and then it spread to the entire Northeast. And now the police is also reporting that these guys are using way sophisticated weapons than even they themselves, the Nigeria police, are using. Who perhaps do you think could be behind this? Now, I know it's not right to name names, and we can't possibly name names, but how did we get to this point where terrorism and banditry has become an order of the day and has become a lucrative business in the Nigerian security space?
Well, first of all, let me point out that the police force are only saddled with the responsibility of keeping civil laws and orders. Situation like banditry and terrorism, honestly, is far beyond the police force. And then that goes to show that it is the military, the armed forces, that could curtail this bad omen that have bedeviled us. Being that as it may, when you look at the video that was flying online 2 days ago, the military saw those guys with sophisticated weapons, like you said, and majority of them are even under 18. But they were carrying arms. And in that video, which I also watched, the military were saying that these guys are not Nigerians. They were infiltrated. They were sponsored probably from the Sahel region, from Sudan, from South Sudan, where you know that heavy war is ongoing and these guys have to escape for their lives. These weapons that we talked about, how did they acquire them? Does Nigeria manufacture those kind of weapons? No. So, when you want to curtail this kind of danger, and they have fastly, affiliated themselves with their brothers in Sokoto State. I say they are brothers because they usually come in the name of religion. And when they come in the name of religion, and because they want to tell you that they are worshiping God or Allah, they will be allowed to settle down in the name of religion. That means the Nigerian government has to do one thing to de-radicalize the ideology of religious patriotism. A nation that its creed or whose trajectory or whose vision or whose patriotism or whose loyalty is towards religion, is towards tribe, is towards ethnicity, will always have this kind of crisis. America will tell you they are not loyal to their religion, they are not loyal to their president, they are not loyal to their political parties, they are loyal to the Constitution of the United States of America. And when we are talking about this kind of constitution, it's a constitution that has no iota of loophole. It's a constitution that enthrones justice, that enthrones equity, that enthrones fairness. Do you have that kind of constitution in Nigeria? And how do you begin to reconstitutionalize the Nigerian constitution when some sect of senators, some sect of House of Rep members are even agitating for the inclusion or the enactment of a Sharia law in the Nigerian constitution, making it to be that what these guys and their big men and their political leaders are interested in is religious ideology and not the trajectory of nationhood, patriotism, and nationalism.
Right, Honorable Atai, I like how you have beautifully laid this out. It's setting the tone for the next line of discussion, which is still in line with insecurity. somewhere in the northwest, but this time around it's not in Sokoto. It's in Zamfara, which has been the heartbeat of banditry and terror, banditry and kidnapping in the northwest. Now, a report here on Daily Trust says that bandits have abducted over 50 people in Zamfara state and have also placed a 150 million naira levy on residents. Now, mind you, this is not a ransom. This is a levy that they have to pay to be able to live in the community. Also, they have killed 10 farmers in Niger, while the police say they are working on the problem. So it's like a complete deteriorating state where we see banditry jumping from one state to another. And here in Niger, Niger is literally sharing borders with the nation's capital. At what point will the security forces take the issue of insecurity in the country seriously? I remember one time when the president had asked all service chiefs, including the chief of the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, to move to the northwestern part of the country and ensure that the banditry is ended there. Are we really taking the fight against insurgency and banditry seriously in the country, or are we still commercializing it?
We are commercializing banditry and terrorism in the country. Let me be emphatic about that. When Mr. President came on board, what did he do? We learned that they called some sect of Boko Haram repentant Boko Haram. And when they named them repentant Boko Haram, they said they have de-radicalized them. And after that, this same Boko Haram or repentant Boko Haram terrorists were also recruited, about 300 of them, into the Nigerian armed forces. I think the Nigerian army at the time. The moment this very president came on board, I watched it, the news flew, and the army said that these are repentant Boko Haramis. I don't know the agenda of accepting repentant or de-radicalized Boko Haram into the military. To me, that is Talibanism in action. Because what the Taliban did when American government went to their land to stop and to install democracy there, they laid down their arms for a period of 20 years. And then academically and through routine subjection, they infiltrated the Afghanistan army and took up and rose in military hierarchies to the highest cadre and toppled the same government. And you could see that within that 20 years, American government said they have finished their work in Afghanistan, and they have finished and they left. Immediately they left, these guys that infiltrated the army, the armed forces of the Afghanistan, they took over the government and brought what we call Talibanism. Even the president has to fly for his life. What am I trying to say? The situation we are watching in northern Nigeria is exactly the same. And if I want to go further to be more emphatic, I will tell you that the northern region of the country has accepted the religious ideology than the Nigerian constitution. Because in the Kano state, you have Sharia law. In Zamfara state, you have Sharia law. In Sokoto state, you have Sharia law. In Kaduna state, you have Sharia law. And the government and the military or the security system cannot tell me that this law does not infringe on the law that governs the country, which is the Nigerian constitution. So a situation where you have two constitutions in one, you are there to practice them. The country also, you sponsor her with over, you sponsor pilgrimage to Jerusalem with of money. Tell me, what is the trajectory?
Well, right, Honorable, in relation to your earlier comment about repentant Boko Haram members who were...
There is no such thing as repentant Boko Haram or repentant terrorists.
Well, I'm driving somewhere.
No such thing because the government... Hold on. The government gave them that name, repentant, to make it so subtle. They know what they are doing.
Is that the same situation? Is that the same situation we are seeing with the recent minors who I don't really believe were minors that were arrested during the hashtag End Bad Governance protest? That now the Kaduna State Governor, Governor Sani Uba, is saying that he would rehabilitate them. In fact, in the news, it says that he has given them each 100,000 naira. He has given them mobile phones and has promised to rehabilitate them. The same term that was used for the Boko Haram members that were arrested and in quote became repentant. Are we seeing another trajectory, another repetition of what happened with the Boko Haram members? Because obviously these people committed a crime against the Nigerian state, and instead of facing the law, they are being rewarded. What is all this?
Exactly what my point. I told you that that region, both the Northeast and now the Northwest, and probably you see they are crusading towards the North Central. They have only one goal, and the goal is to ensure that Sharia law works effectively, if not more than the law in the Constitution that governs Nigeria. So we are heading towards a chaotic future, a future that probably will see religious war if care is not taken. Because as a visionary analyst and an emancipator, I have seen these anomalies, and we have pointed those things out in the media as what agendum for the government to take heed. But alas, the government itself is compromising the standard of upholding the integrity, the sovereignty, and the nationalism as contained in the Constitution. So it is a situation or a quagmire where we would later say we are on our own. We are seeing it between Israel and Hamas. We are seeing it between Israel and Lebanon. What do you call them? And what do you call it? Hezbollah.
Hezbollah.
We are seeing it between Israel and Iran. And any moment it will become Iran, United States, and Israel. So we have their branches in Nigeria. And what goal? The only goal is to ensure that their religion becomes a superior religion, not only the superior religion, the religion that must govern this world. And that is the aim.
Right, Honorable Atari, we have just about 3 or 4 minutes to wrap up this conversation, but I want you to react to the recent death of the late Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who died on Tuesday, who has been at the forefront of the fight against insurgency in the Northeast and banditry and kidnapping in the Northwest. How much of a huge blow is this to Nigeria's security frame, considering that this is a very critical time in our security situation in the country?
If you see the enthusiastic spirit, the sagacity, the consciousness, the capability of that young man, Lagbaja, you would know that, yes, something good is about to happen in Nigeria in the eradication of terrorists, Boko Haram, banditry, and what have you. Alas, we lost him again. I don't know, but I could say that had it been he never became the chief of army staff, would he have died so suddenly with what they ascribed or alleged to be the cause of his death? Cancer? Such a vibrant young man is a big blow and a big loss to the Nigerian government and people. And my heart goes, my sincere and deepest condolence to the Nigerian government and to his immediate family. Again, let me say this, that we have gotten a replacement for Lagbaja. Though Lagbaja, or the replacement, is just within the jurisdiction of the Nigerian Army. We have the Nigerian Air Force. We also have the Nigerian Navy. We collectively known as the Armed Forces. Then we have the Chief of Defense Staff. What the Chief of Defense Staff and all his chiefs who have to do now, take the welfare of the foot soldiers in the field seriously. Do not create religious dichotomy in the minds of those fighting terrorism in the country. Do not affiliate yourself to political parties or religious inclination or ethnicity. And unless these three things are maintained by the security and the armed forces, we will go nowhere rather than moving in cycle, and we shall have no trajectory, no nationalism, no creed as a nation. Thank you very much, and I think this would be my last statement.
Well, right, Honorable Daniel Atai, I must thank you so much. It's been a very brief discussion, but quite punchy. It's a pleasure to have you join us on Morning Express.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, that has been Right Honorable Daniel Atai, a public affairs analyst, joining in from Makurdi. Now, moving on, still with newspaper reviews, we will be joined in a short while by Mr. Jake Ekpele, who is joining us virtually. But before I have him make his comments, let's pick up the Leadership newspaper and have a look at the story surrounding Donald Trump's historic return to the White House in the just concluded U.S. general elections. Now, on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, we start off with the headline story: Trump shocks critics, returns to White House. Straplines say he has won a historic election to emerge the 47th U.S. president. World leaders seek ties as Tinubu, others congratulate president-elect. Experts speak on implications for Africa and others. Now, of course, inserted here is a picture of the U.S. president-elect Donald Trump gesturing next to his wife, Melania Trump, his son, Barron Trump, and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, following early results from the 2024 U.S. presidential election in Palm Beach County Convention Center in West Palm Beach, Florida, yesterday. Well, at this point, let's now welcome Jake Ekpele, who is the founder and CEO of TAF Africa. Hello and a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on Morning Express.
Morning.
It's wonderful to have you here. First, I would want to get your reaction to the results of the U.S. general elections, the presidential elections, where Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, now President-elect, won the election by more than 270 electoral votes in the U.S.
Democracy has spoken, has confirmed that President of the United States, although his current status is that of a president-elect, he defied the odds and turned and ensured that he disappoints the political pundits. And here we are with someone that nobody thought will emerge. Well, especially us outside the U.S. I think the U.S. citizens knew exactly what they wanted, and that's exactly what they have we've gotten. So I would say, whether you like him or not, whether you are his supporter or not, whether you subscribe to his policies or not, Donald Trump is now going to be the 47th president, and there is nothing anybody can do about it. I'm not a firm supporter of his policies. However, democracy has spoken, and he spoke loud. And I'm very quite impressed with the development in the U.S. I think for the first time in a long time that a Republican won both the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. Donald Trump won 294 Electoral College and over 72 million votes, going to statistically is about 50.9%. So he's broken the odds, and I'm sure his camp is very happy about the development. What that portends politically across the globe can be a discussion we will look at in this on your show.
Well, talking about what it portends across the globe, of course, we know the U.S. has high stakes, especially in the Middle East, with the crisis currently rocking that region, where Israel is basically at war with all of its neighbors. And we also saw the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulating Trump, creating some sort of alliance with the president-elect. And Trump has also on his part promised that he will put an end to the war in the Middle East. How do you think he will come about this? Firstly, are we seeing a sort of collaboration with the Israeli side? How exactly will Trump stop the war?
Well, that's a whole lot of discussion because but again, Trump is in the very good book of Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, and oftentimes he listens to Trump. He feels that Trump advertises his strength and can pull a string at any point in time. So they have some good understanding, and so peradventure, he could advise the sitting prime minister of Israel to sort of soft pedal. So chances are there, the possibilities are there that he could tone down the situation in Israel and entire Middle East. There's a possibility. The other possibility is Ukraine war. He's also in the good books of Putin. There's a possibility he could also pull the strings. Chances are that may happen. Both of them are very close to him, and they may want to patronize him by taking his advice and discontinuing the war. But one thing for sure, Donald Trump is a businessman to the core. The funding of those wars is likely to take a bit of a backseat because his agenda, his policies has been nation first, and he tries to exhibit that every step of the way. So there is a possibility. But then globally, whether it's democracy or rule of law, I have my concern, knowing fully well some of his antecedents and the rhetorics that he has used previously, and the kind of people that he supports. Viktor Orban, these are detectors, obvious. Putin, the North Korean guy, So I am a bit concerned about how he's going to manage those relationships. But something that was said yesterday in one of the international media that caught my attention is the fact that Donald Trump may not do most of the things that he's saying he will do because he knows that the system will checkmate him. The American system is robust. It will checkmate him. Yes, the American president have excessive power, but there are systems that curtails those powers. So he may not necessarily do all that he wants to do. But what he has said will fuel tension of his people who are in the street, and they are likely to carry out those actions. And I pray they don't. But that's what is likely to play out. But my brother, it's important here to notice the happenings and to underscore the fact that and to underscore the fact that we have seen today that in all that played out, and I'm talking about the U.S. election, we have seen gender parity, at work, because Kamala Harris, obviously, the situation looks more like the U.S. are not ready for a woman president.
Now, Mr. Jake, in addition to your comment, if you remember back in the last elections when Trump ran against Kamala Harris, not the 2020 general elections, the one he won and became president. He ran against Hillary Clinton. I beg your pardon. Yes. He ran against Hillary Clinton. He clinched the presidential seat and became president. Mm-hmm. And now recently he ran against Kamala Harris, another woman. Now in Kamala Harris's case, it's more significant because she was looking to become the first woman and the first woman of color to become U.S. president. But I've seen a lot of comments online. I've seen videos. I've seen tweets from mostly women activists who have claimed or said that this is very unlikely that in a country like America that is considered a very liberal nation, you would have a situation where sexism is an order of the day, where a female president cannot emerge, no matter who she's contesting against. Is that the situation?
That's what I was trying to explain, because we've seen that the America that preaches gender equality, we're seeing the undertone practice of gender inequality. There is no doubt that the issue of gender played out in this election. The issue of race played out in this election. The issue of nationalism played out in this election. The issue of core values, especially Christian faith, played out in this election. So back to your question, yes, there is an obvious gap in bridging the gender inequality. And we have seen that in the result of this election. Because if Democrat had put out a very strong candidate who is male, maybe by now we would have been saying something different. So these are some of the challenges that I have that obviously alludes to what you have said. There is an issue of gender, and as we make progress, we can delve deeper into all of that. But it's not a very good development for gender advocates, especially the women folk globally. Somebody like Kamala Harris would have heightened their advocacy and of course the implementation of policies that will patronize, that would further enhance gender equality. But the reverse is the case. I don't think that is in the radar of Donald Trump. No.
Well, let's talk about immigration policies of Donald Trump. In the last tenure where he served as president, we saw how very stringent he was with his immigration policies, building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, so, deporting immigrants. And now he's yet again threatening a bigger and a mass deportation of immigrants from the U.S. to other parts of the world. This is also at the backbone of where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is congratulating President-elect Trump and also calling for some sort of mutual collaboration between Nigeria and the U.S. Are we seeing this sort of mass deportation also affecting Nigerians in the U.S.? Or what is the situation? How would our international relationship be like with the U.S. with the coming of Donald Trump on board again?
Hey, look, there are political talks and there are realities. Donald Trump was saying he was going to deport how many millions of immigrants? Whether 5 million or thereabout, that is not going to happen because you don't need an IQ of a mushroom to know how much it will cost the U.S. It's going to run into billions to deport that number of immigrants, and it's not only Nigerians. Nigerians have a significant number of immigrants in the U.S. However, Nigeria is not the only country. There are several other countries that have a similar number of immigrants in the States, and most of them, some of them, a large number of them are actually legal. Very, very little illegal, and then there are also others that are pursuing their immigration papers. So it's not just a target on Nigeria or Africa. There are other nationals that are in the U.S. That are there illegally, which is not commendable. I wouldn't be on your show commending people to travel to countries where they don't have the necessary documentation to stay there legally, to continue to do that. But it's more of talk and less work. Let me give you statistics. During the tenure of Obama deported more immigrants than Donald Trump did in his 4 years first tenure. And so it's not an easy road to travel. And so I don't see, it will happen because he wants to please his base and perpetuate his autonomy and leadership within the Republican Party. There will be some measure of deportation, but not as big and in numbers as what he has been saying.
Well, Mr. Jake, you have quite beautifully laid out that point. But let's also talk about the image of America on the global scene concerning racism in a situation like this. It appears that the actual rednecks, the core Americans, who are mostly Trump supporters and who were hugely part of the Make America Great Again campaign that led up to what we are now seeing unfolding in the U.S., have been quite accused of some sort of subtle racism towards people of color and other nationals who are not, American citizens. How do they defend this if they were to? And do you think that perhaps Trump would have a more strategic approach towards it that would actually relay the message that indeed they are not as racist, or they are not even racist the way people construe them to be?
Well, racism is a global phenomenon. Racism happens across board. There are some countries that there is an obvious practice of race card, and America is part of that country, and but you can't holistically say that they are the only one. There are several, even within the African continent. There are countries that are racist in nature, racist in policy, racist in their acts. I mean, we're just witnessing what has been happening in Libya. That is gross racism. We have also witnessed at a point what happened in South Africa and several other countries, you know. So racism is entrenched in American society. And there are people who openly practice it in words and by their body language. They openly practice it, you know. And some of them do it in such a way that they just don't care. There's nothing you can do about it. And unfortunately, many of them are in Republican Party and in Trump's camp, you know. So these kind of practices, which is not acceptable globally or locally, does happen. How would they address it? By not treating it as elephant in the room. They have to take proactive measure in ensuring that they play down the rhetorics, do everything possible to have a clear-cut policies that will address the issue of racism, and also to have programs and projects that will help those that are victims of racism. And then, of course, to create a pathway, economic pathway, that would give them some measure of wealth within the society so that they can deal with their own personal issues, as well as they collectively work with the sitting government to deal with the issue of racism at a broad base, as a broad-based issue. So America is not the only country, but it does happen in America, bearing in mind their population and the population of blacks, Hispanics, and so on and so forth. My brother, it will interest you that the people that gave Donald Trump this victory are two sets of people. The Hispanics, the same Hispanics that they were driving the narrative that Donald Trump insulted, which is true. The people in his
camp.
In his camp,
yeah,
yes, did do that. But yet, you know, there is something that this man is doing that other politicians should learn. It's not just his populist ideology and his leftist, left-centered philosophies. You know, there is something about Donald Trump and the things that he has recognized, which is effectively implementing, that is giving him this edge. You know, he has come to study the American politics and American politicians. He knows how to ruffle their feathers. He's not perfect. He is not perfect. Neither is he going to be perfect. But he knows how to perfect his games. And he has used it to the betterment of his own political agenda. Donald Trump will go down in history as one of the most prominent politician. Remember that what he has done now, he has repeated history of 100 years ago or more, when a particular U.S. president, I can't remember his name, you know, failed after his first term, then went ahead
and ran for office again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You understand? Mm-hmm. You know, but I mean, Donald J. Trump has beaten all political pundits and all the hindrances and all that. And today he has emerged. If anyone is thinking that Donald is going to go to jail, that person might as well forget it.
I was going to come to that just before you mentioned it. Now, we all know how much of a troubling situation he has had, both politically and legally in the U.S., being the first ever president, whether sitting or former president, to be, you know, charged with to face criminal charges. And now he is president. He is president-elect. How much of an impact will this have on his presidency when he gets to the Oval Office?
I mean, Donald Trump has beaten all history that you can think of, all odds that you can think of. He was charged, he was first impeached twice, even though the Senate did not approve it. He had 34 felony counts, accusation of all kinds of sexual immorality, troubled businesses, and all that, So all that will not count, my brother, because this man is now the American president. He will get in there and Donald Trump can do whatever he wants, whatever he likes, within his executive arm.
And you don't think that perhaps the Democrats could capitalize on this to sort of make his regime a bit turbulent?
No, Democrats cannot, because they've lost both houses. This is historic. They've lost the House of Rep. They have lost the Senate. They are now 42, 44, I think, 52 in the Senate. That's a wide margin. In the House of Representatives, I think they are 207 to 100 and something. I mean, if I check my system, I researched it last night. Definitely, they've lost the two houses. 27 governors leaving the Republican to less than that. So he is in a very good position to deliver the dividends of democracy. But if he chooses to do otherwise, American system will checkmate him. But it's going to be a tough battle because you're talking to the most powerful man in the world.
Well, let's still talking about the image of America on the global scene. We have just about 5 minutes to wrap up the conversation, but I want you to react to some statements or comments made by Americans and non-Americans during the tenure of Joe Biden, where they said that he has made a ridicule of himself and a ridicule of the U.S., in the world, considering the fact that when Donald Trump was president, countries like Russia, China, and the likes, even Israel, paid so much respect to the U.S. president and the U.S., but with the coming of Joe Biden, that respect sort of plunged into the ground. Is Donald Trump likely to reinstate that good image of America as a superpower that it is on the global stage?
Look, I follow global trends politically and, by way of commentary as well. That statement is not absolutely correct. I don't think President Biden did not handle himself well on the global scene. In fact, if you're talking about someone who did not handle himself very well on the global scene, is Donald Trump during his last presidency.
While Trump was president, he established relationships with countries like North Korea. Kim Jong-un was paying so much respect to Donald Trump. They even had a meeting. But with the coming of Biden, it was like countries like Russia, China, Israel, North Korea, and the likes sort of washed their hands off of the U.S. and they didn't want to have any form of deep connection or relationship with the United States.
Because Biden was not going to be as transactional as Donald Trump. I mean, I can come back on your show and we discuss this in a wider, and I'll give you much more deeper perspectives. Look, listen, the world has come to respect America more. Forget about Donald Trump is one that if you are in his space and you praise him, he gives you everything you want. That wouldn't happen with Biden. Biden wasn't looking for their praise. Biden was just one who has a heart to serve his people. You cannot compare the track record of Biden, whether it's in leadership or in service. You cannot. This is a man who has served his country at its various level, legislative and executive, for over 50 years. without any iota of crisis, apart from all the claims around his son, you know. And I'm not here to defend Biden, but I'm just trying to present an objective view to your viewers, you know. So it's not true to say that the world has come to respected America more when Donald Trump was there. They were just concerned about his rhetorics and his threats and all that, and they just allow him to do whatever he wanted to do. But that's not with Biden. Biden is a core diplomat whose foreign policy has brought a lot of respect to America. You know, he activated diplomatic dialogue in getting whatever he wants. You know, and of course he took actions too. You know, in places where he has to take action. The only thing is the fact that if Biden has seen today, he probably would have bailed out earlier so that Democrats will find a very strong candidate. And I'm not saying that Harris is not a very strong. She's not a very strong candidate. I mean, I wish that she had won. You know, however, America has come to be more respected today than what are you talking about, my brother? How can you endorse anybody who is dealing with North Korea with the level of human rights abuse and the corruption? How can you endorse anybody who is dealing with Putin? How will you endorse anybody who is dealing with all the sharp practices of China? You know, that's not a good omen. You know, that's not a good yardstick to determine whether Donald Trump did well or not. How did he engage North Korea? If you are in leadership, would you engage North Korea? Nobody wants to deal with him because he is not a leader that can be trusted. You know, somebody who is spending more money acquiring armament, and his people are dying of poverty. Do you know the level of starvation in North Korea?
Well, Mr. Jake, I'm afraid this is all time will permit us to take on the program. I wish we had more to discuss this more in-depthly, but it's been a pleasure having you lend your thoughts to the issue of the just concluded U.S. presidential elections.
One aspect we didn't talk about, maybe next time, is what does this election, what's the significance of this election to Nigerian democratic system and Africa as a whole? That will be a discussion for another day. But
we'll bear that in mind, and we'll certainly invite you on the program again. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. God bless.
Well, that has been Mr. Jake Ekwele, who is the founder and CEO, TAF Africa, lending his thoughts to the U.S. presidential elections. At this point, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will be delving into matters concerning road safety during the Ember months. Do well to stick around. We'll be back in a short while.
Welcome to the Niger Delta, a region of incredible beauty and stark contrast. From its breathtaking landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, this is a place where history and modernity collide. But beneath this serene surface lies a story of struggle and resilience. The Niger Delta is the lifeblood of Nigeria's economy, home to vast oil reserves that fuel the nation, yet it is a land where the people fight for their share of the wealth. Join us on the program Niger Delta Today as we explore the heart of the Niger Delta, discover the vibrant cultures, the struggles for environmental justice, and the stories of the people who call this place home. This is the Niger Delta, a land of contrast, a story of resilience, a journey of hope. Don't miss our exclusive series, Niger Delta Today, every day at 12 noon, only on ADBN TV. Witness the untold stories, experience the journey, Be part of the change.
Welcome to the world where innovation meets opportunity, where ideas become empires. This is Market TV.
I am Idorian Flannan, and every week I'll be taking you inside the dynamic world of marketing and
Groundbreaking startups to big businesses. Market TV on display.
It's all about understanding your audience and staying ahead of the trends.
Witness the creators that drive the various brands.
Join us as we dive deep into the strategies that shape the commercial landscape. From streets to traditional advertising and social media, we cover it all.
Whether you're a seasoned professional or an aspiring entrepreneur, Market TV provides the insights you need to thrive.
This show gave us the tool to turn our vision into reality.
So, if you're ready to master the market, tune into Market TV every Saturday at 6 p.m.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
If you are not a judge, you are not a judge.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we no dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager, the bank executive, they are the one the government should first praise.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
Step into the heartbeat of the world where news meets real talk. From breakthroughs in diplomacy to humanitarian challenges and scientific milestones, Global Digest takes you beyond the headlines and straight to the heart of the matter. I am Amma Marcus. Be a part of the world's unfolding stories at 3 p.m. on ADBN, channel 258 on DSTV, and Star Times, channel 140. Global Digest, your window to the world's current affairs, only on Advocate Broadcasting Network.
In a world of overwhelming voices, where everyone has different opinion on different issues, it is important that we bring the core issue to the fore. Join me, Nancy Banigo, on Softline as we lend our voices to inform and influence your thoughts and actions. This is not just mere talk, it is an invocative program that touches the core of our existence.
No matter wetin I see, enough fit make mouth heavy to talk am. That's now why people dey talk.
You know wetin dey worry you, but you no go fit take help yourself.
In this kind of situation now, what if they really no talk to una? Wetin be the way forward?
They go bury our chairman on Thursday. We go remain here.
Make we talk good where we dey see good, and where we know say we no dey see good, make we also dey talk am.
No woman, no mother deserve to know the grave of his child.
The bank manager, the bank executive, they are the one the government should first praise.
People They Talk, the show on Monday to Friday by 5 p.m. on top ADBN TV.
And you're welcome back to Morning Express. Now, turning our attention to other matters, still staying with these cautions. This Ember Month, staying safe on Nigerian roads. Now, the Ember Month is one that is related or has been associated with accidents, especially on expressways in the country. At this point, we are being joined by a special guest, Olusegun Ogungbemide, MNI, FISPON, ANIPR, who is an assistant corps marshal and also the core public education officer of the FIRS. It's wonderful to have you FRSC, I beg your pardon, FRSC. It's wonderful to have you join us in the studio, Mr. Olusegun. Firstly, we are in the Ember months, about 2 months into the Ember months. And we all know the stereotype that these 4 months have in the minds of Nigerians. That whenever it's Ember month, there are always accidents on the road.
Yes.
Could it be spiritual? Could it be physical? The debate has always been on. In your position as somebody who has been in the system and who understands how Nigerian roads work, what would you say causes accidents mostly during Ember months?
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. In the last 36 years of existence of a Federal Safety Corps, that has always been the scenario and the impression in the minds of many Nigerians that the moment we enter the Ember month, bad things will start happening, especially as it reflects activities on the highway where you have series of crashes claiming lives here and there. And it's been attributed to so many things. Some say some juju are operating on the highway waiting for blood to suck. Some says their villagers are waiting for them so that they will not come to. And some believe that somebody from January till September must have achieved so much. And some village people don't want him to enjoy the fruit of his labor. But from the research of Federal Safety Corps, we come to realize that the crash that occurred in January is not different from the one that happened from September till December. What really changed the narrative towards the end of the year is that there is an upsurge in activities.
On the expressway?
Not on the expressway, in the entire space. Yes. And you agree with me that virtually 90% of Nigerian activities happens on the highway. There's nowhere you want to go to today. You have to access the place through the highway. And so you have an upsurge in activities. You have people trying to run series of occasions towards the end of the year. You have people in diaspora coming back to the country. You have people that feels from January till September, they just realize that their targets that were put in place in January has not been achieved. So you now see activities moving all over the places. Because of the upsurge in activities, you see more requests or more demands for logistics. And that one translates into the commercial driver now, who has been making maybe one trip in a day, trying to increase it to about three.
Two or three
in a day. Eventually, it will reflect on the highway where you have now see people trying to speed in order to cover up for the gaps. And when there is high speed, there's tendency for loss of control, which eventually leads to traffic crashes that we witness all over the places.
Now I know some time ago, FRSC installed or made it mandatory for speed limit trackers to be installed in commercial vehicles across the country, which would mandate that a driver does not exceed a certain speed limit.
Right.
And we know that on a normal day, commercial drivers tend to travel, especially the ones that do travel interstate. They travel to another state and then they would want to rest for 1 day before taking off, the following day. But with the coming of Ember month or with the festive period around, it's almost like once they go to a state, the next morning they are driving back, another morning they are driving back. So this sort of fatigue just sets in. Is there a modality in place to ensure that these drivers are checkmated to know whether or not they have had enough rest and whether they have the mental capability to be able to undertake such trips at short intervals?
Thank you very much. It's like trying to squeeze water out of the rock. When you think there's a modality that can be put in place physically by Federal Safety Corps to check a driver that traveled or that just arrived from a trip yesterday and is engaging in another trip the following day, it's very difficult. If I tell you it's possible or there's a mechanism that we put in place to checkmate that, I will be deceiving you. But what we have done over the years, having realized that this do happen, that stress lethargy has been confirmed to be major causes of loss of controls that we have all over our highways. we continue to dwell on advocacy. Thank God for the introduction of this policy that is called Road Safety Transport Standardization Scheme, which is put in place to regulate the activities of organized transport systems, which is an avenue for us to reach out to majority of the organized transport system. And one of the major things that is given as a mandate to them is that there must be a rest period for their drivers. That any driver that drives continually for 4 hours is expected to rest for about 30 minutes. So now imagine the one that is driving the entire day. We know that this thing do happen, and that's why we gave this as a mandate. But at the same time, what we do majorly as a strength is advocacy, to continue to talk to the conscience of the operators,
the drivers and the operators
for them to know the implication of what they are doing. Because one thing you can't do is that you can't cheat nature. When it comes, it's like a nap. Because you just wonder, at times, you see a vehicle in the bush and is alone. How did it get there? All the crashes we recorded recently.
And most times, it's not like 2 vehicles
colliding. No, there's just one, a lone crash. And you said, you didn't see any obstruction, you didn't see any pothole on the road, you don't see the man veer off the highway into the bush. These are the effects of stress. And these are the reasons why we have continued. You know, one thing is that they said when you want to establish an information, you continually repeat,
ringing it in the ears of people,
knowing fully well that it's like a seed. Definitely for those that are not defiant, for those that are not recalcitrant, they will adopt it and it will assist. That is what has really enabled us to even have the reduction that we have recorded in the recent time.
Well, you have quite fantastically laid the foundation to this discussion. But let's start off with the FCT, where we are based. Most times during the rainy season, you'd find that cars sort of just skid off the road and end up in ditches or gutters or gullies somewhere in town. There is no single day that rain falls that you drive around the Abuja metropolis that you don't find 1, 2, 3, or even 5 cars in ditches. Do you think that this could be attributed to not just the road being slippery, but the fact that some drivers are just not supposed to be on the road because they are either not licensed, or they are not properly trained to drive? I'm driving somewhere, but I want you to react to this first.
By virtue of the number of traffic volume we have in the FCT, you just mentioned that maybe you see about 4 or 5 vehicles running into ditches. You should be able to ask yourself, how were the others able to drive without getting involved in crashes? So it's an indication that the problem is not really the road. And the problem might not really be the vehicle, but the person behind the steering. Because there's always a special driving system when you are driving under special condition. Either you are driving at night, or you are driving under the rain, or you are driving when the road is flooded. You can't drive the same way you drive when the road is dry. So it takes a man that is well tutored on the rudimentation of driving for him to know that when it is raining, 1, the road will be slippery, and the only thing that can balance it is for you to have a good tire. Because there are some tires that are already worn out. That you even see the tires coming out from the tires. And when you know you have such condition, what is expected of you is for you to drive with caution. How do you speed on a road that is slippery and you are not even sure it's not flooded? Because one thing that is certain is if there's a flood on the road and you speed into it, there's every certainty that you lose control. And these are the things that I've attributed. So just like you rightly said, I would rather call it the human factor. The man behind the steering that failed to manage the slippery road. And I wouldn't know the condition of his vehicle at that particular time.
Well, there's also another misconception that I want you to clear on air right now, because your agency, with the wonderful works that you've been doing in ensuring that our highways are safe, our roads, even within metropolises like Abuja, are also safe. But people have sort of attributed some accidents to the fact that people don't necessarily go through the rudiments of training that your organization has laid out for drivers to go through. So it's almost like getting a driver's license is the same as going to a supermarket to purchase an item. Now, these are comments I've heard from people. These are tweets I've read online. I want you to clear the air on this. Is it true that you can just walk into an FRSC office with probably a few connections that you have there and you get your driver's license without necessarily going through the training that has been laid out?
Thank you very much. Acquiring a driver's license is a tripartite process.
Yes.
That means involving the VIO, the Motor Vehicle Administration,
yes,
and the Federal Road Safety Corps, yes, as the last line of process. And it's also in two ways. It's either you are coming as a fresher or you are trying to renew your driver's license.
Yes.
If you are coming as a fresher, you are expected to go through the 26 labors days, where you'll be tutored by a certified driving school.
Yes.
And it's the driving school that will issue you the certificate, which is being managed by Federal Road Safety Corps. And one thing that is unique about it is that this certificate carries the code with which you access the portal. So there's no way you can access that code without running through that 26 days course.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you are still going to be tested through the CBT, that's a computer basic test.
Yes.
And it's after you are confirmed to have scored above 70% that you are now issued that certificate, which is automated. And from there, you make you present yourself to VIO or VIS for proficiency test.
Yes.
And after it's confirmed that truly you can drive, you now proceed to make your payments before you proceed to Federal Road Safety Corps,
yes,
to be captured. That's the process of getting new driver's license. Renewal is maybe a month or a few weeks to the expiration date, which is your date of birth. As a reminder, as you are celebrating your date of birth, you check your driver's license to know when it's going to expire. Few weeks to the time you are expected to renew your driver's license,
yes,
which does not take through all these rigors of what it takes for.
Because you're already a driver.
You're already a driver. It's just for you to make your payments, and the license is renewed for you. Anybody that says it's so easy for him to access driver's license like going to supermarkets and picking it must have been engaging fake or touts all over the places. Because if I ask you how you assess your driver's license, the process mentioned would determine whether it's fake.
Well, I went through this same process that you just mentioned,
yes,
where I had the 26-day course, I had the certificate, I had to go back to the office. It was a whole lot of process that I can't even remember some, yes, but I know it was quite rigorous.
Exactly.
But there are also some people who claimed that they didn't have to go through all that. Now, why not just pay money?
It's a system, yes, and you know that whatever government puts in place, you always see people that try to change the system.
Yes.
And that's why where they will meet their Waterloo is the day it will be confirmed that what they are carrying is a counterfeit, is a fake one. And if you are so unfortunate to travel outside the shores of this country, like some of the Western world,
yes,
they will ask you when you want to drive, because like we've been able to build the integrity of our driver's license to the point where it can be used
outside of Nigeria.
Outside of Nigeria.
That's quite impressive.
You want to say yes, and what the first thing they do is to seek for the history, your driving history. So if you don't have your database with FRSC,
yes,
your data, your content with FRSC, who do you approach? And that's where you realize that you are rather undoing yourself
than actually being smart.
Yes, by not following the right process. So I always advise Nigerians that they should always do the right thing and get it right.
Well, just as much as Mr. Olusegun here has said, it's about doing the right thing. It's about following the right process, doing it and doing it right. Ensure that before you get behind that steering wheel, do well to go and get your driver's license and go through all the rigorous training that you're supposed to go through to be able to be certified as a Nigerian driver. Well, let's move away from that and focus on other things. Recently, we saw a situation, a tanker inferno somewhere in the northern parts of the country where, a tanker fell and people rushed to the scene to scoop fuel. And in the course of doing that, there was a fire that claimed the lives of over 150 people. Quite a very sad incident. This is just one out of the many incidences like this that happen on Nigerian roads every now and then, where there is an accident, either people rush to go and scoop fuel from the tanker, or there is an accident and people rush to the victims to take their valuables and the rest. How do we address this issue? And what is the response time, especially for FRSC, when situations like this occur, to ensure that people don't endanger themselves and also don't take advantage of victims of road accidents?
Thank you very much. Under like the situation, the response time for Federal Road Safety Corps to any crash is 15 minutes, which we have tried over the years to reduce by virtue of so many interventions that have been put in place. But normally, we rated it under 15 minutes.
Yes.
And it's also a function of information being made available to us.
Yes.
Because you agree with me that it's easier to access information during the day than night.
Yes.
And most of the standard crashes that we have recorded of recent happen at night. And we will recall that Federal Road Safety Corps severally have made this pronouncement about discouraging night driving. We don't have the power to stop it. And I don't think the Constitution too ever mentioned something of such. But because we've been able to weigh the crashes that occur at night, availability of help, and the reduction in casualties compared to the ones that happen.
Now, sorry, before you continue, when you talk about night driving, are you talking about on the expressways or just within the city center?
It's on transit, on highway.
On highways.
When you are moving from one location to another. That's
interstate.
States.
Yes.
That's where you have most time that you travel on the highway, on the express.
You have such accidents.
You have, because one, visibility.
Yes.
And one funny thing is that you cannot fully predict any road.
Yes.
The condition of the road that you passed few days back could be different from the one you are assessing.
Certainly.
And especially when you are now assessing it at odd hour.
Yes.
When the visibility is not there. Do you know what is happening all over the countries now that we need to be more cautioned? And apart from visibility, the driving style at night, especially when you are assessing bends, you see a vehicle, maybe you've experienced it when the man coming from the other side will switch off his headlamp, trying to know whether the man from the other side is coming, forgetting that the man could adopt the same style.
So
trying to switch off his own headlamp too, trying to confirm if there's this other one coming, and two of them will have this head-on collision that will claim. So we've come over the years to realize that night driving is not actually the best. And as regards the issue of crashes involving tankers, I've had reason to say it severally.
Yes.
That if you know where we are coming from, you know what FRSC has really put in to have to get to this status where we are managing now. You recall that when you look at our means of transportation,
yes,
the roads carried more than 95% of movements, both moving passengers and haulage, both wet and dry cargo. Like someone said it sometimes, that 98% of what you have that you call Abuja pass through the road. That from this crash to what we have as Abuja today, not by air, not by sea, not by rail, it's
just pass through
the road to make Abuja what it is. So you can imagine how huge it is, and this is replicated all over the Federation.
Yes.
You can count the number of tankers that we have plying the road on a daily basis, loaded with fuel, moving thousands of kilometers from one end to the other.
Yes.
So these are the things that were happening in the past when we were having infernos, crashes involving...
it was almost like a daily occurrence.
Daily occurrence, very embarrassing even to the nation. And FRSC came in. With the intervention, they initiated the concept of the RTSS that I said, Road Transport Safety Standardization Scheme, which was introduced 2007, that let us regulate the activities of this haulage system, haulage transport system. Since the other means of transportation have gone into moribund. Then we cannot now, because of that, now allow people to just be wasted on that.
Yes.
We introduce it, and we give criteria where we have what is expected of an operator, what is expected of the driver, and what is expected of the vehicle itself. And this is what has assisted in curtailing the impact of the crashes that we were experiencing in the past.
Yes.
And going further, we also realize that running after tankers on the highway, apart from the fact that it's dangerous, is demeaning.
Yes.
And it has exposed our operatives to so much dangers. Because you know what it means when a loaded tanker is not having tire or is not having wiper, and as a road safety official, you have to stop him with your car down there, yes. And the man refused to stop and he threatened to run you down. And in the past, they've run down so many of our operatives.
It has
and
been
eventually, when you are able to stop him, the man blocks the highway and said nobody will move again. I had a bitter experience when I was an operative at Auchi.
Yes.
I was able to stop this vehicle. All other ones that were coming after him stopped and blocked the highway behind him for trying to arrest a tanker that was involved in an infraction. Do you know what he did? He opened up the nozzle of his truck and fuel started gushing out.
My goodness.
And the guy was begging for matches that wanted to set the whole place ablaze. These are the series of
events and threats
that we are exposed to.
For junior officers or for officers on the highway who face this sort of situation, is there any sort of what sort of training do you guys? I know, of course, there are trainings, but do you retrain them to better handle situations like this? In your case, your case when somebody had to open his tanker and was threatening to kill everybody. Are there better ways to handle this?
Well, these are the ways that I'm just trying to come up with now. That when we realize the dangers we are being exposed to, and we cannot, in the course of trying to save a situation, create more damaging situation.
Yes.
We now say, well, I think the better thing is to meet these people at the source
and have a conversation
at their point where they are loading. We've had a series of conversations. We've given enlightenment to them, but you know that human beings are quite in different categories.
Talk, it goes in through here.
There are
goes
some
out
that are naturally, they said, all what they believe is that there must be deviance in the society. So no matter what you say or what you do, they want to go the other way. So we now say, okay, what we'll do is that there must be a genuine collaboration with the process owners. Those that load them at the loading point. We gave them all the criteria that are required, that if this vehicle failed to meet up to this safety standard, minimum, because we understand the terrain we operate, we can't say maximum, we say minimum, that we know can create safety on our highways, will not allow that vehicle to load. We call it safe to load. We have all our operatives in all the depot, in the major depots in the federations today, where they check these vehicles to make sure they meet up with the minimum safety standard. What is the safety of the driver? What is the status of the driver? What is the status of the vehicle before it's allowed to move? How do you explain a vehicle that is moving from Lagos to maybe Kano, carrying fuel, and right from the depot is leaking?
That's a huge safety hazard.
No, it's just it's the danger waiting to explode, which has happened severally in the past. So before you can move your vehicle from the depot, one,
it has to be checked.
The driver must be checked to make sure that he's in right frame of mind. He's not drunk. He's not under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Secondly, we think about the tire, the condition of the buckets. Is it leaking? Is it safe? And is it having safety valves? And the essence of the safety valve is in case the vehicle falls, which is, we can't wish that away. There's no law that says, there's no system that says crashes cannot occur. It can occur.
It can occur.
But what we are saying is to reduce the level of casualty or record zero casualty. And secondly, you must have, thirdly, you must have your speed limit device, which regulates the
amount of speed you can go.
The speed a car can go is different from the one a commercial vehicle can go, and it's different from the one an articulated vehicle can go. These things are well calibrated in the speed limit device.
Yes.
And before you can go, you must have all this. But you can still trust that people will come into the depot with certified vehicles. And when they leave the depot, there's transloading to vehicles of their choice, which might not really be monitored or known to FRSC.
Well, when it happens, that is just on one hand. On another hand, most tanker drivers, not just fuel tanker drivers, but trailer drivers, especially people who convey livestock, cows, from one part of the country to another, have been, labeled to have always operated under the influence of some sort of drugs. This is a well-known fact.
Yes.
People talk about it every now and then it's like whenever the main driver or the oga of the trailer is tired, he just gives his boy the steering wheel, who is probably not experienced.
And that's why we've tried to engage all the stakeholders, especially the NATO, those are the vehicle owners, for them to know the implication of losing that huge investment. That if you think you are not concerned, when it happens, you are going to lose your investment, you are going to lose lives.
Yes.
And you are the one that employed that seek the services of these men. You know them better and you know how to manage them better. There's this adage in my area that when a dog is running mad, when he sees the owner, he will calm down. The way they relate to us as security enforcers is different from the way they will relate to their owners, because they have more respect for them.
Yes.
So that's why we try to engage them. And that's since the inception of the commercial Sheikh Mohammed. It has been on regular
an upward trajectory,
regular basis. The engagement, the interaction is gone as far as meeting the Minister of Petroleum on oil and on how we can curtail the excesses
on the express.
Because when you talk of the most dangerous vehicle on Nigerian roads today is a loaded tanker. Look at the devastating effect of what happened at Jigawa.
Almost 200 people losing their life, burned to death.
But do you know the unfortunate thing about the incident? In line with all what you have been doing, when that crash occurred, primarily, there was no single casualty. The driver and motorboy came out unscratched.
It was the aftermath.
It was almost 1.5 hours later that villagers started calling them. About 3 villagers were involved. So to scoop fuel. So if we could be talking of about 280 deaths.
Yes.
And more than 50 injuries. You can imagine, because we still have some that were not injured, that escaped.
Yes.
You cannot imagine the number of people that were mobilized to come and scoop fuel from a 45,000 liters tanker. There's no way, there's no magic that will have happened. There will have been struggles, there will have been, unholy.
Certainly, a place where you have that multitude of people will not have any form of decorum.
Certainly, which must have ignited fire, because it was not the tanker that exploded.
Yes.
It was the external fire that came to the tanker. There was an ignition outside that came
into the tanker.
Into the tanker. And the unfortunate aspect of it is when you look at the massive loss. Someone said, if it still happened tomorrow, you'll be so surprised that it will still repeat itself.
People will still run there.
People will still run there. You now ask why. The police and FRSC operatives were there to manage the situation. But how do you think about 350 villagers will not overwhelm 10 operatives?
Now, Mr. Olusegun, you are the core public education officer. And sometimes some of these things have to do with sensitization.
Yes.
Does FRSC have any sort of pact with, say, the National Orientation Agency in ensuring that people, Nigerians, are sensitized, especially people in rural communities, like in the case of where the tanker fell in Jigawa State, to ensure that these people are sensitized to know the dangers of not going towards where a tanker has fallen? Is there any form of pact like that between FRSC and the NOA? or any other agency of government?
Outside the routine interaction we've been having with NOM, because like Semen twins, we've been together right from inception. Anywhere you have a rally, you see NOA. Anywhere NOA is having a program, you see Federal Road Safety Corps.
Yes.
We've been there all this while because we know we have our own source at the roots too, but we believe they are deeper into the grassroots than us.
Yes.
So we leverage that to reach out to members of the public. And outside that, they've been given the mandate too by Mr. President for them to go further in sensitizing members of the public as regards it. It's an obvious danger.
It's an obvious danger.
Whoever that is even trying to do this should know the implication.
And many people have sort of attributed the fact that these community dwellers had to do what they did because, one, poverty, and the fact that fuel was or is becoming an almost unaffordable commodity for the common man in the country. Now, I know these are just some excuses that could be made up, but do you share the same line of thoughts that maybe if fuel had not been so expensive, they would have not seen the need to go and scoop up fuel because they saw it as liquid gold?
Well, in that regard, I will have thrown the question back to you.
Okay.
Assuming that fuel drained into a lagoon,
yes,
would they have delved into that lagoon to go and fetch that fuel?
Well, I believe not.
Which would have been very impossible.
Yes.
They would have looked away. Knowing the implication that this thing is a death waiting to happen, what gain would they have been expecting from that act that would have provoked their interest towards committing such suicide? Because even before now, that has been the trend in the nation. There was one video that went viral, and somebody was asking, where has gone the conscience of Nigerians? When there was a crash involving a commercial bus and a tanker, and rather than assisting those that were still struggling for life, they were crossing over them to go and scoop fuel. Is that as a result of poverty?
Well, certainly not.
Or inhuman nature or greed? And where this crash occurred, how many vehicles are around that area that you will have woken up your entire community at night, at 12 midnight, to come and scoop fuel? It's been happening. It's a trend. So I won't attribute it to whatever
to poverty or the high cost of fuel in the country.
I think it's just, even before now, there was a time a trailer that carried rice fell somewhere far, so many years back. The trailer was looted. And it's not that there was hunger then. So it could just be our human nature that when you see what they call a wolf,
people want to go
feel,
there and
let me just have a share.
Have a share of what they did not work for.
Irrespective of the danger lurking around.
Well, not to digress too much, Mr. Olusegun, let's talk about the issue of overloading, especially during this Ember month. Yeah. People want to travel. People want to do things. They want to meet targets like you rightly pointed out earlier. And we all know that one problem that the FRSC has always had with commercial drivers is the issue of overloading their trucks. Not just overloading in terms of goods, but overloading in terms of passengers.
Yes.
In terms of sensitization, that is one. Is the FRSC doing anything to ensure that drivers do not do that? Secondly, what are the implications should, in case a driver is caught overloading his vehicle on the expressway? Are there any sort of penalties laid out by the FRSC in terms of this?
We had a trend of recent.
Yes.
Where the one we call mixed loading, which majorly occur with vehicle coming from the northern part to this downline.
Mixed loading.
Where you see passengers are loaded in trucks with cattle.
Yes.
Or livestock. The crash that occurred at Lapai, where close to 50 people were killed, had more than 90 passengers in that truck, along with cattle. 50 cattle were also burnt.
50 cattle and 90 humans.
90 humans. Loaded,
in the same truck?
Yes, coming towards the west. So the tanker the tanker fell, and that one was even on fire.
Yes.
And the passenger tried to tell the man that there's a fire ahead.
And he didn't know.
He said it's the tire of the tanker that was burning.
Oh.
There's not knowing that there's spillage. And he drove those people into that inferno, which claimed so many lives. So we've been managing that kind of overloading all this while, trying to confirm. We even raised a task force. And the directive of the Corps Marshal was, well, let's make it a kind of palliative for them. Discharge the passengers and let the vehicle go.
Yes.
So when the passengers know the risk and the implication of what they are doing, because it takes two to tango. If you know that there's going to be inconveniences for you in the course of this transit, you do the right thing.
Yes.
Some people were attributing it to poverty then too. That maybe because they didn't have money to travel.
So they are just tagging along to get to where they want to.
But eventually when the crashes occur and we are trying to do rescue, the kind of money we see on most of these victims, you ask, why did this person decide to commit suicide? If you have this kind of money wrap around your lawn, why do you decide?
Why not just take public transport?
Public transport and live convenient and get to your destination. It's just a nature. It's just, the mood of the moment. People are moving, let me join them.
Yes.
For this period, the mandate of enforcement given by the Corps Marshal is that any vehicle that is overloaded and is caught on the highway, sorry for the passengers, because the passengers will be, the extra one will be discharged. And if you happen to be the extra, that means you'll be on the highway to look for another vehicle.
To look for another vehicle.
To save this inconvenience, especially during this season, so that you have better part of your days and enjoy your new year, please do the right thing. Our focus this year is enlightening the passengers on knowing their rights. And the Corps Marshal has given the assurance that is behind them, is giving them the necessary backing. Because you have the right to be taken from your location to your destination safely.
Yes.
You have the right to be transited safely. And that is the essence of this season. So if you enter a park and they are insisting that you must enter an overloaded vehicle, please, you need to resist. Because if you make it inconvenient for the drivers, yes, when they know that we've all collaborated and say the right thing will be done,
yes,
they will sit up to.
Now, I like that you had set a base for this in terms of the right of the passengers.
Yes.
But I want you to, in a more elaborate manner, one, tell us what the rights of the passengers are while transiting this Ember period, the rights of the drivers, or what is expected of the drivers rather, and secondly, your officers of the FRSC on the highways who are carrying out their rightful duties to the nation and to Nigerians. How should they coordinate themselves in dealing with errant drivers?
Let me give you this instance. A lady entered a bus from Lagos going to Taraba.
Yes.
There were about 10 passengers in that vehicle. And the vehicle was also loaded with some items.
Yes.
Because when we were having this fuel crisis, getting to Ijebu-Ode, the driver decided to enter a filling station to buy fuel into 3 extra jerry cans, loaded it and pushed it under their seats, Ijebu-Ode to Taraba.
That's a long trip.
And one lady picked the courage to say, no, this cannot happen. You can't kill us. Apart from the fact that there could be fire outbreak, inhaling
the fuels,
this fuel could even is not.
It's hazardous.
It's not healthy.
Itself. Yes.
And the man refused. You know what he did? Unfortunately for her, other passengers did not even support her. Yeah. They were indifferent to what was happening around them. But the lady insisted. When the driver refused to listen, he assessed the social handles. Our men picked it up, and at Akure,
apprehended him.
That vehicle was apprehended. And all the fuel and everything were discharged. That is the way we are going this time around. There's a tool the Corps Marshal has given to Nigerians, the one we call FRSC mobile app.
Okay.
You understand? Yeah. That tool, you can communicate FRSC monitoring room, control room from anywhere, as long as there's network with you.
Yes.
And all our formations have been alerted. Even outside the FRSC, all other agencies, security agencies are also alerted that every road users, especially the commuters, have the right to be taken to their destinations safely. And when they feel insecure in any vehicle, they are free to alert any agency, any operative they see on the road. And they have been given the mandate to listen to them.
Yes.
And do the needful. It is also the mandate of the driver. You know, there was an exchange. I paid you to take me to my destination. It's an agreement.
It's an agreement.
And you have to fulfill it.
Yes.
If you failed in that responsibility, you are liable.
So the driver cannot say, oh, because this person reported me, I'm now angry, I'm not taking you there.
That is where the protection comes.
Now, the lady that you mentioned that had alerted your men via social media handles, when the vehicle was apprehended, what happened between the driver and...
Yes, I asked her.
It's a story
it's a very sweet one. I asked her. I said, imagine how you manage. Were you still able to follow the vehicle to Taraba?
Yes.
He said, yes. From Akure. He said, but it was not a pleasant journey.
Because the driver must have been...
He said it was not a pleasant journey.
Extremely angry.
But the truth is happy.
Yes.
Irrespective of the trauma, of embarrassment and what have you.
He got
to his destination safe. He said 10 people would have been burnt to ashes if he had kept quiet like others.
Yes.
I had the same experience too. And the driver punished me
for
complaining to his management. He was going on 140.
Yes.
Per hour, kilometers per hour.
On the express.
On the express. Which express do we have? Do we really have?
Our roads
because most of our roads are
deplorable.
I'm not even talking of deplorable nature. When you say express is a road that does not have intersection apart from the link roads for you to exit and come in. The interchange. Most of our roads that we call express are highways. They are dual carriageways where you have U-turn, So when you are driving on this kind of road, you are expected to be more cautioned. And this man was going on 140, 150 kilometers per hour. And I was inside the vehicle. And somebody expected me to keep quiet. I complained.
And he got angry.
He got angry. I called his management because I had access to their number.
Yes.
And they called him to order. And he reduced the speed from 150 to 50 kilometers per hour. And rather than getting to my destination in 4 hours, I got there in 10 hours.
Oh, he deliberately...
Yes, to punish. And from that location to to the point I alighted, I was abused by other passengers in the vehicle. But when I alighted from the vehicle, I gave them compliments. I said, God has taken me to my own destination. They were still proceeding
you guys
to Lagos.
Can carry on with 50 kilometers per hour.
That is naturally you are going to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Naturally, if you are not having the support of your commuters, definitely you feel bad. But what is more important is your safety this time around, because all those people we picked on the highway will have taken a different decision.
Yes.
If they have thought right. So that is what should be your focus. But what we are saying is that despite that, you have our back. If reports are laid that such driver had reason to embarrass the passengers, we are taking it further.
Well, let's talk about your officials now. You've mentioned about the passengers. You've talked about the drivers. Let's talk about your officials. Earlier, you stated something that caught my attention, that you have given a directive to your operatives on the expressways, on highways, not to run after an errand driver, an errand tanker driver.
Yes.
Now, you didn't mention whether smaller vehicles are also part of this directive that you gave, because we have seen situations where FRSC trucks, are usually on a high chase with errand drivers who know that if they are caught, they will be penalized for either not driving with their seatbelts on, or for not having the adequate papers, or not having a driver's license. What is the situation like?
On FRSC operations today is an aberration for you to run after an errand driver.
Yes.
We've gone beyond that. And then you ask yourself, what's the essence of technology? We have what we call flying tickets.
Yes.
If a vehicle gets involved in an infraction, unless it's not displaying its number plate, and that's why we are always against it, because you have to display. We see you as a criminal.
If you're not displaying.
If you are not displaying, there must be something you are hiding. Because the National Traffic Regulation says that you must have your number affixed both front and at the rear.
Back, yeah.
Yes. So the essence of this is that we have a very robust database in Nigeria today. That when you are involved in any infraction, I don't need to run after you. The only thing I do is move closer, get the number, and access the database. Every details about it, because I'm sure at the point you are registering that vehicle, you are not thinking of getting involved in any crime.
Certainly not.
You're not.
So your driver's license, everything
is there. The information, the biometrics, your address, your phone numbers.
Yes.
I've tried it severally. I was on Third Milan Bridge one year, and a man drove dangerously in front of me, not minding my flag vehicle.
Yes.
And he looked at me and looked away. I got the number. I was behind him. Got the number. I said the details.
It.
I just picked the number. I saw the owner of the vehicle, saw the number. I called the person. I said, well, this is a road safety officer, and this vehicle just drove dangerously now. Coincidentally, the owner of the vehicle, no.
Oh, okay.
He's not in that vehicle. He just started abusing the guy. He said, he started mentioning his name. He's a mad person. I didn't give him my vehicle to go. Please, I'm sorry, sir.
Probably just a driver.
A driver. I now called somebody inside that vehicle. I could see from the reaction that they were amazed.
Yes.
How did Oga get to know this? That is the magic of database. And that's where we are today. So if, as a road safety officer, you still run after an erring driver, you are going against the rule of the system.
Yes.
And we have sanctions for them. We don't take it for granted.
All right, Mr. Olusegun, in just 60 seconds or less, I want you to give your final message to Nigerians. You can actually look at this camera and give your message to Nigerians in December month.
I'm in line with the decision of the Corps Marshal, Sheikh Mohammed, MNI, that has great passion to reducing road traffic crashes within this season. He has decided to say we have to change the narrative from what has been the routine in the past. He believed that road safety is shared responsibility, that everybody must be involved. The driver, the stakeholders, and the commuter. But this time around, it's more focused on the commuters who are expected to be the ambassador of Nigeria, of FRSA anywhere they go. As you're in that vehicle and the driver is driving recklessly, speak up, speak out. Because when crash occur, passengers die more than the drivers. And this has been the trend. For you to stay alive and enter 2025 safely, please, when you encounter a reckless driver, speak out so that you can stay alive. I wish you best of luck, Nigerians.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having this discussion with you.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, and we look forward to having you again one of these days.
I'll be glad to be back.
Thank you. Well, that has been Olusegun Ogungbemide, MNI, FISPON, ANIPR, who is an assistant Corps Marshal as well as the Corps Public Education Officer of the FRSC. And I couldn't have said it any better. Discussions have been had, and he has relayed his message to Nigerians plying roads this Ember month. Well, this is the much we can take on this segment of Morning Express. For sports lovers, at the top of the hour, we will be handing you over to our Oyo studios for ADBN Sports. So do well to